Hey, welcome back to the NC State Insider Podcast. I am your host and lead beat writer, Tucker Sennett, joining you here today to discuss the first loss of the season for number 23, NC State. Moved up to number 23 today after the AP poll came out, but they are obviously in the Southwest Maui Invitational, made that long trip over the weekend out there and fell in the opening round to the Seton Hall Pirates of the Big East in a really just not overly concerning performance, but there were certainly some issues that, Will Wade talked about be needing to be corrected that popped up in a major way in this game and ultimately kind of led to the demise of the Wolfpack here in Maui. And they have some serious issues and really no time to turn it around because you play again tomorrow. That's kind of the nature of this event is you got to adjust on the fly more or less and prove that you can, put that loss behind you in a hurry. And this will be a really major test of this team's fortitude. But on today's podcast, I want to talk about the Seton Hall game and, assess kind of what went wrong in this matchup. You can check out my written recap that's already up on the NC State on SI website. And so you can also find it on my Twitter account at Senate Tucker on X. Um, but let's just dive into it. NC State came out, looked pretty sluggish, battled back in the first half to cut the lead to two for Seton Hall. And I think everybody in the building expected NC State to try to come out in the second half and really be the aggressor. That's the word that Jay Billis kept using on the broadcast. But to really be the team that dictated the pace of the game, the style of the game. And the Wolfpack just didn't do that. And I was pretty shocked with, some of the defensive body language, a lot of arms down at times. And, the strategy was interesting after I know Seton Hall wasn't a good three-point shooting team and they only ended up shooting 31% in the game, but they came out and they really hit momentum swing threes in this game. They hit seven of them, but it felt like every time NC State was making a push, Seton Hall either broke down the defense from behind and hit the big man for a lob, or found an open shooter for a three. And that was kind of the end of this NC State team in a lot of ways. And then of course you had the turnovers, but the main thing I want to hit on that I was really shocked with was this team did not adjust offensively in this game. They were Seton Hall had, I'm not going to say a straight up athletic advantage because I think NC State has the athletes to compete with athletic teams like this, but Seton Hall's style of play is very frenetic. They want to play that kind of chaotic, forcing turnovers, blocking shots. And NC State offensively didn't do what you need to do against teams like that, which is cut harder. NC State, and that's something that Will Wade said on Thursday was if they don't cut harder than they did against VCU, they were going to get blasted. And this team didn't operate offensively very well. The players weren't cutting, the passes weren't crisp, no ball fakes. That was something that was really shocking that they didn't adjust to. When a team has 9 blocks and 11 steals, at some point you have to figure out that they're jumping the passing lanes, they're jumping your shots, and there were just very few shot fakes or, uh, what am I trying to say? There were very few attempts to try to get this Seton Hall team off balance defensively. And that was just never going to be a recipe for success for this team because they just played their style the whole game. They were never forced to play a different way than they wanted to. They got out in transition, scored 22 fast break points to NC State's 7, and NC State turned the ball over a lot. They turned the ball over 13 times, which even though Seton Hall negated those turnovers with 14 of their own, it doesn't matter when you're on the other end, you're getting your shots blocked and you're giving up steals. Like that's just there was a moment where um, Matt Abel had a three-pointer blocked, and then Jerry Dang, who's 6'9", had a three-pointer blocked, where I kind of just accepted that this was not the Wolfpack's day. And it was just really, really not ideal offensively. I know Will Wade, I haven't gone and watched the press conference yet because it just hasn't trickled back this to Raleigh quite yet. But I know for now he's said that he thinks the problems are much bigger on the defensive end than the offensive side of the ball for NC State. They still scored 74 points, but they were so insistent on doing what they wanted to do and couldn't adjust that I got some major concerns with that because, if this team was built to make a tournament run, like the hype was created around it, they didn't. That's something you got to do if you want to be a tournament team, and they didn't do that well at all today. Darian Williams kind of at the center of that. They really forced him to play a different style than he likes to. He likes to play a little bit more back to the basket, kind of operating in the lane a little bit more. And every time he started backing down, Seton Hall sent a double, and he just couldn't get any clean looks. And so he was never able to really be aggressive, and that's not, I mean, Jay Williams and Seth Greenberg were blasting him after the game about his aggressiveness. It was a result of Seton Hall's defense, in my opinion. And yeah, those guys are on ESPN. They probably know a little bit more than me. But I think, watching that game, he never had an opportunity because, he had no help. There were no cutters. They were dropping a lot of passes, quite frankly. Um, and every time he wanted to get into a set that worked for him against other teams, he wasn't able to because they either took it away or they kind of moved him off the position. Now that's an effort thing at times for sure, but it's also just when a team generates a defense to stop one guy, you need somebody else to step up. Came out during the game. Jay Billis said that Trey Hallman's been dealing with the flu. I was not aware of that. I'm not sure how public that was before the game, but he clearly was not himself from a energy standpoint. You could tell on a couple hustle plays where he just didn't have it. And that was pretty unlike him given how well he had been playing coming into this game. So that was a concern. But in terms of bright spots, there were two for NC State in this game. Matt Abel was really, really solid offensively, shot 6 of 12 from the field, scored 15 points, made two threes. Um, he looked more comfortable than I think we've seen him in some of these other matchups, and he showed that he can rise against a quality opponent, which I think is really promising for the NC State team. He just needs more experience, and in a game where Williams is getting taken away, he's a guy that I think really could step up and be that release, that valve for the pressure on Williams. And then Van Allen Lubin played his best game as a member of the Wolfpack, outside of shooting 50% from the free throw line, which you can talk all you want about the Lahaina Civic Center rims, but um, it wasn't great showing for Van, or it was a great showing for Van. It wasn't a great showing for him at the free throw line. He scored 16 points. He had 9 rebounds. He was kind of the lone big option as they just I don't think trusted Musa Sanya against this kind of high octane defense and their speed. Um, I don't think he's quite there yet, and I think that might have been a mistake in the long term of the game because there were some points where they just needed interior presence and they didn't have it, and they kept getting beat behind, basically on these back cuts that were wide open, or it was a guard that was having to rotate down and cover these big men, and Seton Hall has skilled big men. It's the first time they've really dealt with that all season, other than maybe VCU. But these guys are different athletes, and so that was I think, a little bit of a shock for this team. So yeah, they'll get back to it. They'll wait the game of they'll play the loser of USC and Boise State. That's going on right now while I'm recording this. So we'll know more about that tomorrow. But um, yeah, they need to bounce back in a big way. A lot of stuff to fix because this is the kind of event and time in a season where things can snowball, and you don't want to walk away from this tournament with two losses or even three. That would be really bad for your national outlook. It would be really bad for the ACC's outlook. And you went into this tournament as a favorite if you're NC State, and you got to find a way to salvage this trip. So yeah, that's my instant reaction to this loss. We'll have more coverage of the Maui Invitational this week for you, and we'll keep it going here on NC State on SI. If you want more episodes of the NC State Insider podcast, go ahead and subscribe to the sports videos on SI YouTube channel. We'll catch you tomorrow.